Imagine standing on a battlefield thousands of years ago. Soldiers carry swords, spears, and shields. The clash of metal fills the air. And then suddenly, a small object flies through the sky. A moment later, boom. Smoke, fire, chaos. In just a fraction of a second, the rules of war change forever. Today, bombs are among the most powerful weapons ever created by humans. They can level buildings, destroy cities, and even reshape global politics. But where did bombs come from? Who invented the very first explosive weapon? How did humanity go from simple gunpowder mixtures to precision-guided bombs and nuclear weapons? The story of bombs is not just about destruction. It is also a story of science, engineering, ambition, and human curiosity. And it all began more than 1,000 years ago, almost by accident. Today, bombs are highly advanced pieces of technology. Modern militaries use precision-guided bombs, often called smart bombs. These weapons use GPS, laser guidance, or satellite systems to strike targets with incredible accuracy. Aircraft can release bombs from miles away, and the weapon will guide itself directly to its target. Some bombs are designed to penetrate underground bunkers. Others are meant to destroy large areas using powerful shockwaves. And then there are the most devastating bombs ever created, nuclear weapons. A single nuclear bomb can release more energy than thousands of conventional bombs combined. But despite their complexity today, the origin of bombs began with something much simpler. A mysterious black powder discovered in ancient China. The history of bombs begins in China around the 9th century during the Tang dynasty. Chinese alchemists were searching for something completely different. They were trying to create an elixir of immortality. Instead, they discovered one of the most dangerous substances in human history: gunpowder. The mixture consisted of 3 simple ingredients: saltpeter, potassium nitrate, sulfur, charcoal. One of the earliest written formulas appeared in a Chinese military text called Wujing Zhongyao, published in 1044. At first, gunpowder was used mostly for fireworks and signals. But it didn't take long before military engineers realized its destructive potential. The earliest explosive weapons were called thunder crash bombs. These were ceramic or metal containers filled with gunpowder and sometimes pieces of metal. When ignited, they exploded and scattered deadly fragments. These early bombs were thrown using catapults during battles. For the first time in history, warfare included explosive weapons. One of the earliest documented explosive bombs appeared during the Song dynasty in the 12th century. Chinese military engineers developed a weapon known as the Jin Tianlei, which translates to heaven-shaking thunder bomb. These bombs were typically made from cast iron shells filled with gunpowder. When they exploded, the iron casing shattered into deadly fragments, much like modern grenades. This was a major innovation. Instead of just fire or smoke, bombs now produced shrapnel, dramatically increasing their lethality. Chinese armies used these weapons against the Mongol invasions. Ironically, the Mongols would later spread gunpowder technology across Asia, the Middle East, and eventually Europe. By the 13th century, gunpowder had reached the Islamic world in Europe. Scholars and engineers began experimenting with explosive mixtures. One of the most important figures in Europe was Roger Bacon, an English philosopher and scientist in the 13th century. Bacon studied gunpowder formulas and wrote about explosive compounds in his scientific works. However, early European bombs were still crude. They were often simple containers filled with powder and lit using fuses. But innovation accelerated quickly. By the 15th and 16th centuries, explosive weapons were becoming more sophisticated. Cast iron bombs were used in cannons and mortars, allowing armies to launch explosives long distances. These weapons transformed siege warfare. Fortresses that once stood for years could now be destroyed much more quickly. The next major breakthrough came in the 19th century. In 1847, Italian chemist Ascanio Sobrero discovered nitroglycerin. Nitroglycerin was far more powerful than gunpowder, but extremely unstable. Even a small shock could cause it to explode. Handling it was incredibly dangerous. Then, in 1867, Swedish inventor Alfred Nobel changed everything. Nobel invented dynamite, a safer form of nitroglycerin mixed with absorbent material. Dynamite revolutionized both construction and warfare. It allowed engineers to build tunnels, railways, and canals. But it also created far more powerful explosives for military use. Alfred Nobel would later establish the Nobel Prize, perhaps hoping to leave behind a legacy associated with peace rather than destruction. The 20th century brought the most dramatic transformation in bomb technology. During World War I, bombs were dropped from airplanes for the first time. Aircraft could now attack cities and military positions from the sky. Then came World War II, which introduced some of the most powerful conventional bombs ever created. One example was the Grand Slam bomb, designed by British engineer Barnes Wallis. This bomb weighed nearly 10 tons and was designed to destroy heavily fortified structures. But the most powerful bombs in history were developed through the Manhattan Project in the United States. Led by scientists like J. Robert Oppenheimer, researchers created the first atomic bombs. In 1945, atomic bombs were dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These explosions changed the world forever. They demonstrated that bombs could now destroy entire cities in seconds. Today's bombs are not just powerful, they are intelligent. Modern weapons include GPS-guided bombs, laser-guided bombs, bunker-buster bombs, thermobaric explosives. Some bombs can adjust their flight path mid-air to hit moving targets. Others are designed to penetrate deep underground before detonating. Military engineers constantly work to increase precision, reducing unintended damage. But the destructive power of modern explosives remains immense. What does the future hold? New technologies may change the concept of bombs entirely. Researchers are exploring hypersonic weapons, capable of traveling faster than 5 times the speed of sound. Artificial intelligence may one day guide weapons with extreme precision. Some military scientists are even studying directed energy weapons, such as powerful lasers. In the distant future, wars might rely less on explosives and more on advanced electronic systems. But the legacy of bombs will remain a powerful reminder of how science can be used for both creation and destruction. From accidental discovery in ancient China to the unimaginable power of nuclear weapons, the history of bombs reflects humanity's incredible ability to innovate. But it also raises an important question. Just because we can build something powerful, does it mean we should use it? Technology itself is neither good nor evil. Its impact depends entirely on the choices humans make. And perhaps the most important lesson from the history of bombs is this: the same intelligence that created these weapons can also be used to build a more peaceful world. The future, like every invention, is ultimately in our hands.